Good evening and welcome to this of all programmes. In the news this week, Chepstow, the mystery of how Labour intend to fund their ambitious policies, is finally solved. After the hot favourite falls at Chepstow, John Prescott hears a rumour that there are giant pearl beds in the Humber estuary. And as Princess Diana goes swimming in a West London pool, critics say it's about time reporters left her alone. On Ian Hislop's team, a man who is unique among alternative comedians in that his Cockney accent is genuine, Lee Hurst. And with Paul Morton tonight, a royal biographer who is quoted as saying he could happily live off the ashes of the House of Windsor for the next 20 years. Now we know who started the fire. Andrew Morton. So, clickety-click, round one. Action replays of the week's major news stories. Paul and Andrew, talk us through this.
This Bruce Grobbelaar not taking money in a hotel room.
And issuing a libel writ.
Libel writ to anyone who suggests that he did.
What was he doing then? He was just playing past the parcel.
Yeah. See, a goalkeeper you can't sort of like say, all right, you're going to bet that the match is going to be 1-3-0 because a goalkeeper, how can you let in 3 goals and you might let in 4.
Sorry, can you rearrange those words to make a well-known English sentence?
Yes. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Is the right answer. Very good. It is the...
Why are there no pictures of him playing football?
Well, BBC Sport wouldn't allow it, oddly enough.
Why is that?
Well, you have to ask them, because...
What, we can have pictures of him not taking the money?
That's fine.
But no pictures of him not letting in the goals?
Apparently not. No.
Right, well that's sensible, isn't it?
And the other pictures belong to Sky, which is why we're allowed to use those, you see.
Oh, I see. No one's seen them before.
No, that's right. So
why is everyone being... Why are we pussyfooting around? There's a tape showing a man taking a whole load of cash and saying, all right, I'll throw the next game, and I threw the ones before. Why are we not bothering to say so?
Because it's a bit... It's a bit dull.
Yes.
Oh, it's too dull, is it? Right.
It's also libellous, but I'm sure that's never worried you
I'm sure
before.
it's criminal to throw it.
No, well, good luck in court anyway. Next week, Ian's part will be played by Keith Chegwin. It's alleged that Grobbelaar went to a secret location where he was handed several £1,000s in a brown envelope by someone known only as the Short Man. Geoffrey Archer's lawyers have asked to point out that he is 5'10". Along with Grobbelaar, another famous football figure has been accused of masterminding a string of unlikely defeats. He is yet to be named, but told reporters, "Do I not like that accusation?" Ian and Lee, here's a surprise for you.
Oh, it's Diana getting into a car, probably with Andrew Morton. That's a look-alike.
No, she's had a nose job.
Day job. What's the problem?
Leave Andrew alone, I think we were saying. Oh, she's going up the stairs so
Leave Andrew alone?
Throw herself down again.
I think she's got... So, what's the big story? I think there would be a story if Morton hadn't produced a book this week. That'd be news. Oh, sympathy for Andrew Morton.
Only 14.95.
Is
Only?
it? I was just
Did you bottle out for charging 15 quid for it?
I was just going to say it's very nice to have someone on the show who's richer than Angus.
I don't know about that. I'm not doing.
Oh, you only made 5 million. Sorry.
You're not doing voiceovers? You're not doing voiceovers? Not even when you're talking on the phone to Diana?
No, the problem is she doesn't talk on the phone.
She doesn't? How do you know?
She just remains silent.
Really?
You sure that's her phone?
You ring up and say...
I really must change my 0898 number.
What, phone Dirty Di? It's not her, you know. It's an exciting new book.
And Diana was forcing her way through the crowds to be the first one to buy it.
No, Andrew, you're living in a dream world.
Among the revelations, it's claimed that Diana used scissors to slash her wrists on a flight to Swansea. Well, Swansea isn't exactly riveting, but I'm sure... taking it a bit far. We're told that Diana spends an hour at a time having deep tissue massage, 1.5 hours of colonic irrigation, and 2 hours of aromatherapy, after which she has a cranial massage, which apparently takes a couple of minutes. Paul and Andrew, an old friend for you.
Nice Bruce Grobbelaar coming out here. Very attractive man he is. That's his wife, isn't it, from some vintage?
Yes, and the story?
Oh, come on.
I know it's asking a lot.
Yes. Well, David Mellor is exposed and lose the world last week. He's having an affair with some lady who's not his wife, and him and his wife are going to have an amicable divorce, and they've been working together for the last 2.5 months, and they've taken children and all that sort of stuff.
There's a story that struck a chord then, was it? Yeah. Really interested you?
Interested me greatly.
You used to wear a Chelsea strip while making love, I believe.
No, that was Max Clifford made that up.
Did he?
And they put it in the Sun.
All right, so I was wondering if you could throw a shag for £2 grand.
Well, you couldn't ask Bruce Grobbelaar, that's
you
for sure,
couldn't.
because
He
he's certainly
would
never
think
done
about
anything
it.
of the sort. As we've made it quite clear on this programme.
Anyway, the Countess's husband, he's not a Countess, what is he? He's a Viscount. And the Viscountess says that her husband is supporting her as well, and has done absolutely ever since he found out over the weekend.
Yes, it is the story of David Mellor's latest affair with Lady Penelope Cobham, following his rejection by Mona Bones. Mellor is very angry about the way his words have been totally misinterpreted by the media. He told this programme, "I'm a pompous, sex-mad buffoon." or something like that, anyway. Quite remember the exact words. Friends believe that Mellor had sex with Antonio de Sancho on the rebound from Mona Bones. Sounds like an exciting evening. Ian and Lee, dirty work afoot.
That's a book. Oh, there's a...
He's not reading it.
Oh, Oliver North's selection papers there.
And that's a parcel being burnt.
Yeah,
So his second glass.
Yeah. This is about post office sell-off, and that they're not going to do it now, because they knew if they sent out the share certificates, they'd never arrive.
It's a wonderfully satirical answer, but completely wrong.
But I knew that. I was just
nothing
leading
to do
you
with
astray
the,
with that one, Angus.
with the sell-off.
Mona Bourne.
What it was
Antonio de Sancho
and Heseltine are all
Have
doing
got
impressions
nothing.
of Grobbelaar.
You haven't read any papers this week, have you?
Actually, I'll tell you the truth, I've actually been paid £2 grand to throw this show, so...
Bit of a waste of money given you're on my side.
The clue was actually in a bit of film. Did you pick it up?
Well, isn't this about Heseltine being knocked back in his plans to privatise the post office?
Oddly enough, that was almost exactly what Lee said about 2 minutes ago.
You know what the news is like, things are currently changing all the time.
Oh yes, it is
You
now
can
the right
sell the
answer,
same
yeah.
book twice, but you can't really give the same answer.
We'll come and get the points for it. It is in fact the booklet, which you saw in the film, rather strangely, produced by the DTI.
Been shredded.
It's entitled Marketing Your Business, which encourages British businessmen to lie, cheat and spy on their competitors. When we rang the DTI to get hold of the booklet, we were told that every copy was being recalled and we wouldn't be allowed to show it on a programme of this nature anyway. So, if you like it back, tough. Which ungentlemanly conduct brings us to the end of this round, and the score, unless someone pays me pretty soon to alter it, is that, Ian and Lee are already nicely behind with 2, whilst Paul and Andrew are edging it with 4. The entertainment continues over on ITV, but here it's time for the first look at our caption competition. Ian and Lee, this will be yours. Paul and Andrew, this, yours. So, all the 7s, round 2, as we delve into the archives and invite our panellists to play not so much Where Are They Now as Who Were They Then? Paul and Andrew, name names for 1 point, name the year for 2.
We do not want to have more and more opportunities which give people fake kinds of ways of opting out of the excitement and the virility which we can find in a society which now offers so much to its young people.
Well, I mean,
Sounded like you were going to say fake Fanta. We must not push sham orange juice onto the bit of public. It's Selwyn Gummer, isn't it?
well, with words like virility, it could well be David Mellor.
Yeah.
And what is he now?
What is he now?
Environment Minister.
I don't know.
Same thing he was then, a pillar.
Any idea what he was doing or what year it was?
1968.
Rivers of Blood speech. Enoch Powell.
Why? Because Powell's sitting there.
Yeah.
I thought it was the 19th century, isn't it? Certainly in black and white.
Well, that's very well spotted.
Can I have a point?
The names in question are John Gummer, as he is now, Environment Secretary, and John Selwyn Gummer, as he was in 1967, on that piece of film taken from the KTEL video 20 Great Conservative Party Conferences. John Gummer is best known for demonstrating the safety of British beef by feeding it to his daughter Leonora, or Napoleon, as she's now known on the wall. Mr. Gummer is the one minister that John Major can trust not to have an affair, because if a woman's that desperate, then she's already shagging David Mellor. Ian and Lee, dead or alive?
Mr. Speaker, the time will come when this government will tell the nation that it does believe in a one-nation concept, not just as a philosophy, but as a practical consideration. And it will implement a one-nation policy. And in doing so, it will have to override, even at the risk of a general strike or any other sort of threat from the trade unions, their opposition.
Andrew Neil.
It's Andrew Neil.
Yeah.
And we reckon...
It's the same year Engelbert Humperdinck looked like that.
Yeah.
I will give you a clue. It was when Dana won Eurovision.
Oh, no.
Ah,
72.
No.
3.
Oh, Paul suddenly come alive.
Well, it's great, we've got a pop question. That's
like University Challenge nowadays.
1969.
1970.
You notice Morton hasn't said a word on this round. Don't want to mess up that serialisation, do you?
Well, actually, Andrew has had a hair transplant since going to New York for his big show, so this could well be last year.
Has his big show gone well in the States?
I think it's gone west. It's not out yet, is it?
He's coming back, though.
With a vengeance. Sunday
For
Times.
who?
Well, that was a quote.
Oh, I see.
He'll be coming back with a vengeance. It was in the Sunday Times. And as will the Princess of Wales. So there may well be a double act. Andrew Neil and the Princess of Wales.
Both coming back with a vengeance.
Will it be like the two Ronnies, do you think? And it's good night for me. Hello.
Well, no,
News just in. An elephant has dropped a ton on the M1. Police are advising drivers to treat it as a roundabout.
It was erstwhile Sunday Times editor Andrew Neil as a young Conservative at the Tory conference in 1970. Neil recently left this country to try and make it as a TV presenter in America. When he arrived in New York, Neil was quoted as saying, "It's an advantage not to be English, but to have a Scottish accent. The Scottish vowels are flat, and that makes them more understandable to Americans." So we look forward to Radzi Nesbitt reading the news on NBC. All of which mercifully kills off our round of archive, and the scores largely unaltered are these, that Ian and Lee are on 3, whilst Paul and Andrew have reached the dizzy heights of 5. So, 2 fat ladies, round 3, the infamous odd one out round. 4 ugly mugs, which one's the Charles and Di commemorative tankard? Paul, your 4 sex symbols are Monica Seles, Nancy Spungen, Humphrey Bogart, and Derek Jameson.
Knives comes to mind. Well, Nancy Spungen was killed apparently by Sid Vicious. He didn't hang around long enough to tell anybody about it. Monica Seles was stabbed, wasn't she? Humphrey Bogart had this, I don't know if you can see it there, he had this sort of scar on his upper lip, which he always claimed was a sort of knife wound, but it was something like you hit it on the edge of a milk carton or something.
Well, Derek Jameson's taken over the post office, though, hasn't he? Single-handedly. Postman Pratt. They've all got shows on Radio 2.
Yeah.
Except
Except the 2 that are dead. Yeah.
Well, they're dead. They could be on Radio 2.
I'll tell you, it's that all of them were stabbed by their lovers, except for Monica Seles, who was stabbed by a complete stranger. That's, I'll give you one.
Who stabbed Jameson?
His lover.
Who was that?
He
David
lied.
Mellor?
He lied.
No,
Humphrey
a
Bogart
German
was never stabbed by his lover.
was never stabbed by
No,
him.
What film
he
was
claimed it was, but that wasn't true.
Oh, Mr. Fact's got his hat on.
He just fell off his bike.
Fell off his bike, hit a milk carton.
Do you want to fight? He was stabbed by his wife, actually, his third wife,
Who was what?
Mayo.
Mayo?
They were called Bogey and Mayo.
What, Simon Mayo?
Well, there's not a police series in Bogey and Mayo. I don't know what.
Feels like a rather unpleasant sandwich order to me.
Sounds better than snot and salad cream. Detective Inspector Salad Cream.
Bogart's third wife, Mayo, once flew into a rage, slashed her wrists, set fire to the house and stabbed him in the back with a carving knife. That was the last time he ever left the toilet seat up after going to the loo. Derek Jameson was stabbed by a German girlfriend, though not fatally. Still, can't win them all. Right, Andrew, here we go. For towering intellectuals for you. Sooty.
Lovely.
Joe Williams, aged 1. Princess Diana. And Brian Cobby.
Well, Sooty, he remains silent. That's his claim to fame. I suppose the little boy, Joe, he can't talk. So when he's on the phone, nobody will know what's been said. Princess of Wales, well, she has a reputation for making calls and remaining silent on the other end, and then putting the phone down.
Any idea who Brian Cobby is?
Is he the speaking clock?
An inspired guess. Yes, he is.
Well done.
Yes, how very irritating.
And the picture with Diana is a dummy phone anyway.
Is that why she's using it?
That's why she's using it.
And so have you gone for an odd one out and a reason?
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, Brian, he
Brian Cobby.
Because he's the only one you can hear on the phone.
All the rest are silent.
Yes, well done. It is Brian Cobby, as all the others, makes silent phone calls, whereas as the speaking clock, he just receives them. The Princess of Wales is alleged to have rung up Oliver Hall and said nothing for 5 minutes. Apparently he'd asked her what day it was. Joe Williams clocked up a £1,000 phone bill when he accidentally rang St Lucia. British Telecom said they monitored the toddler's 23-hour call, but all they heard was a lot of baby talk and dribbling noises, so they just presumed it was Diana and James Gilby again. Lee, for famous smiles for you. Mona Lisa, Jilly Cooper, Margaret Beckett, and Arthur, the London Zoo lion.
You're saying the lion's smiling? Yeah. Obviously just had a Christian.
I think I know this. I hate to say this. It's a Leo connection.
Might be.
Might
The
not.
person who painted the Mona Lisa was Leo, dropped the Nardo later. Da Vinci. Bit feeble this, it might be right. Jilly Cooper's married to someone called Leo Cooper. And Mrs. Margaret Beckett is married to someone called Leo Beckett. And Arthur the Lion is not married to Leo, because that would make them a gay pride.
That is absolutely right. It's, well, nearly right. Anyway, they've all slept with a Leo, except for Arthur the Lion, who is a Leo. A homeless care in the community patient was recently mauled by Arthur whilst trying to get into his cage. He has since been given round-the-clock counselling and top-class medical care, while the patient's been shoved back on the streets with a bottle of tranquilizers. And finally, Ian, your pillars of the establishment are Jonathan Aitken, Michael Dobbs, Prince Charles, and Mrs. Buddha. That is in the corner.
Is she a real person? Is she Mrs. Buddha?
She was.
She looked like that, did she?
No.
Oh, religion, that's all you ever go on about. Reincarnation doesn't put the dinner on the table, does it?
I think we're at the start of a sitcom here. At Home with the Buddhas.
Is Prince Charles the only one who's had his harmonica nicked?
He's explaining his appeal to upper-class women. They're all married to Buddhists. Except Mrs. Buddha, who was married to Buddha.
Are you saying that Buddha wasn't a Buddhist then?
No, it wasn't. It's a well-known fact.
What was he, a Methodist or something?
You don't become a follower of a religion if you start the religion. So
But,
Christ wasn't a
but you'd be
Christian.
somebody who would surely embrace all the
Muhammad wasn't
beliefs
a
of that
Mohammedan.
religion.
Well, no, you won't win this one, Paul.
No,
I'm afraid,
it was not a Buddhist.
I'm afraid all married to a Buddhist apart from Mrs. Buddha is one of the most stupid answers we've yet had.
Can we have a go
on
at
this
that?
show.
Right.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
Well, one of them's there's Mrs. Buddha.
Yeah.
The Aiken, Mr. Aiken is married to Mrs. Aiken, who is a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Michael Dobbs is married to a Buddhist, and the Prince of Wales is married to a woman, or rather estranged from a woman, who is a living saint. So Prince Charles is the odd one out.
He's the only one not married to a Buddhist.
Yes, well, you get one mark for that, because I think probably Ian introduced a note of Buddhism into...
No, he didn't.
No, we know.
I also, if we're going to...
Excuse me, but Buddha introduced the note of Buddhism several years ago.
It is, I'll give you one each, in fact, because you mentioned Buddhism, I think, initially. So that's, all of them are married to Buddhists, is the answer, except for Prince Charles. Michael Dobbs, who has a Buddhist wife, Amanda, is Tory deputy chairman, like Geoffrey Archer. He's a best-selling novelist, like Geoffrey Archer, and is, by all accounts, a thoroughly charming man. Which, blessed nonsense, brings an end to this unholy round, and the scores are teasingly poised, as Ian and Lee have a frustrating 6, while Paul and Andrew have a mouth-watering 9. Bingo, it's our final missing words round, and this week, for a change, our guest publications, from which all our missing words are taken, are Andrew Morton's book, Diana, Her New Life, and Jonathan Dimbleby's oeuvre, The Prince of Wales. Now, to get someone to complete a sentence from their own book would be even too easy for this programme, so Paul and Andrew start by filling in the blanks in Mr. Dimbleby's prose. So, in 1980, Charles established a Buckingham Palace what?
Snooker hall.
Recycling plant to put all these royal books in and share them out.
Almost like that,
An
bottle bank.
Andrew Morton dartboard.
Bottle bank. No, you have to say it before I do.
Yeah, but do we get a point?
Charles, Joan Collins was very amusing and with an unbelievable what?
Trick with a ping pong ball. And if you've got it back, you can knock it back. You get topspin. It's probably chest, isn't it, or cleavage?
Cleavage is the right
Blind
answer, very good. Next, Charles, I was then greeted by a bare-bosomed lady MP. I had to wave the spear in the air and shout what?
Blah, 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 blah.
I had to shout, for heaven's sake, Mrs. Curry, stop it.
It's not entirely accurate. The actual answer I was after was warra warra warra, oi people belong manus me hamamas true. And lastly, Andrew Morton's book was, for the Prince of Wales, a what of almost unendurable
Orgasm?
proportions?
Ordeal.
A work of literature?
Sadly not, Andrew. No. In fact,
Now you're being silly, aren't you? Torment.
and this. Torment is not far off humiliation. Right, Ian and Lee, here goes, with the other side of the story. Diana, I'm what, like a tube of Smarties?
Laid down and karate chopped in the stomach and my hat blows off.
Passed around.
Paul,
This bloke here is ready, you know.
it's an inspired guess, but I'm going to dock you 1
shaken up.
point because it's actually handed round, so there we are. Completely wrong.
You've docked me 1 point.
I have, yes. Because, oddly enough, I suspected you of cheating. I don't know, it just suddenly came over me, but there we are. Next, her current interest in what was inspired by Oliver Hoare?
Oliver Hoare.
No, it'd be Oliver Haw, 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 Haw.
Oh, yes.
But you might be having a laugh.
Medieval Islamic art.
Islamic philosophy and culture is the answer we're after. Next, she believes that in a previous incarnation she was what?
Lulu. A nun.
It is obviously a nun, but the person sitting next to the author can't have the point. Next, her sitting room is a shrine to what?
Noel Edmonds.
A sitting room is a shrine 2 doors along on the left. But they've spelt 2 wrong.
No, I think you've deliberately misunderstood.
To her, two boys.
Well, it would have fitted, wouldn't it?
It's to her boys, isn't it? But we don't have a point.
It was originally.
Andrew's told me the answer, but I can't say it because I'll lose points.
Well, if you tell me, then I'll get
That's
it right.
the whole point. It's actually children, to her children.
No, hang on, we're getting the answer.
That is the answer.
It is all right, Lee.
It was in the papers.
You've got the point.
So you've read the book already?
No, I read the headlines in the Sunday Times, thought, God, that looks dull, and didn't bother. No offence meant, obviously.
No.
Of course, nor taken.
The 2 men in her life is how it was rather curiously phrased. William and Harry, we assume. Which painful extracts bring us to the end of this regal round and indeed show. And it is my sad duty to inform the nation that Paul and Andrew are united in defeat with 11, whilst Ian and Lee are Barcelona in victory with 12. So a superbly written... You laugh.
How did that happen?
I think they ended up with more points. So, a superbly written royal biography to our winners. A piece of old tap knocked up in 3 minutes to our losers. But before we let our panellists disappear, it's time to dredge the depths of their subconscious for their recurring nightmare that is our capture competition. Ian and Lee, remember this?
Parachutist Shag's bus.
Did some one-man bus drivers complain that new design makes their job impossible?
Is it someone saying, get off, Mr. Mellor, it's a bus?
Is he saying, hang on, mate, I've got my winkle caught in the petrol tank?
Paul and Andrew, yours was this.
I can do what I like, mate, I'm the Queen. Don't tell me you haven't got some cocaine left up there.
On which unsavoury note we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Lee Hurst, Paul Merton and Andrew Morton. And I leave you with good news for Radio 1 bosses, as there are unconfirmed reports of a listener in the Staffordshire area. Welsh scientists perfect a sheep detecting device, but admit they need to work on extending its range. And Buckingham Palace guards complain that certain members of the royal family have started playing hide-and-seek during the trooping of the colour. Good night.